And hello, and welcome to another episode of the Full Quota podcast. This is your South African cricket podcast. My name is Mpho and Tim. I've got Tim Lace here, my co-host, as well as we talk about all things that are happening in South African cricket. And the things that are happening in South African cricket, Tim, are South Africa in the UK. The Proteas are in the UK playing test match cricket, but it hasn't gone that well. One test one, lost test two. But when I look at it looks as though what England can do, South Africa can do too. But in the weird sense, in the bad sense. What do you make of test two? South Africa losing by an innings, and I don't even know how many runs it was, but nobody cares. They lost by an innings in 3 days. They had a whole weekend.
Yeah, weekend ruined it. Weekend ruined. No, look, I'm not surprised. As good as the first test was, as good as we were in a lot of areas, look, the soft underbelly that we've been speaking about for weeks now was exposed. I said on the Guerrilla Cricket commentary, I said to the guys after the first test, if you can get Dean Argo and Sal Erwin early, then you're on top of the test match. And that's exactly what happened in both innings. Got both guys out relatively, very cheaply in the first innings, and a little bit still cheaply in the second. And that just set the whole ball rolling for England. We never recovered.
Do you think
we
need to just win the toss and bowl first? Lead with your strength.
Well, I was going to come around to that. I do not believe all the criticism that Dean Elgar is getting in any way, shape or form. The criticism should be labelled at the batsmen for this test match. Not the bowlers, not the decision making at the beginning of the day, not the decision making to bowl Harmer and Maharaj together, not any of those decisions. You can make cricketing reasons for all of the decisions he made. They were not howlers that have been reported in the media by some. I fully understand why he wanted to bat first. You do not decide to bat first and then go, oh right, we're going to bowl out for 150. That's not how it goes.
So
what was the killer was in that period where they lost those two early wickets, the fact that they lost Markham and Russie both before the lunch break. That was the killer. They were sort of 70, I think it was 60 for 3. If you told them 60 for 3 at lunch, they would have said, we'll take that. That's one more than we would like, but we will take that. The batting's going to become easier as the test match goes on. But the fact that those dismissals happened before lunch completely changed the complexion of the session, the day, the test match, and it set the whole theme for England dominating from then onwards.
Look, so my thing is, and as everyone can see, I'm channeling the spirit of Inner Amla. Here's my question to you. You said obviously it has to fall to the batters, right? Obviously, we're talking about this, the massive thing that's gone wrong. This batting lineup is the same batting lineup, but minus one person who a lot of people never wanted in the test side already, that beat India. They came back from 1-0 down, they beat India, they batted them. Well, they didn't score hundreds, but they batted well. Same lineup that came back from New Zealand, came back from that horrible game in New Zealand and beat them handsomely in that second test and actually scored like 400 runs in that game. The same batting lineup, okay, it wasn't a similar batting lineup against Bangladesh, but in the World Test Championship, outside of 2 games, this is the same batting lineup that's put South Africa to the top of the table. Why are we still blaming them now? Or is there something that's amiss about this batting lineup that isn't able to be seen by the selectors? Because if I'm a selector, I'm like, well, we've done well. Why change a good thing?
Yeah, look, we've been carrying 2 individuals for probably 6 months too long, in my mind. If it had happened at the time, there would have been a few raised eyebrows, but I do genuinely think we would be in a better place. I do genuinely think if we'd given Ryan a chance and maybe somebody like Zondo who's in the squad, we may well have been in a better place now because it would have signalled that we were looking towards the future, not to the here and now. If they go on to the World Test Championship final, let's say that they draw the final test, and they go to the final and they win it, fantastic. But I think if you're looking at Markham and Rassi in particular this year, you have to realise that for me, both of them have come to the end of the road in this format. For various reasons, but I genuinely think that is where we are at the moment. And we've been carrying them, relying on the runs from Elgar, Peterson, and others when they have been struggling
and
for
Timber.
12 months now.
Look, we obviously the batting was what went wrong. Was the bowling what went right, or were you disappointed in that as well? Because I looked so you don't blame the team selection. I do. I com I do. I as I tell you, who is it? Simon. Simon's a drinks carrier this tour, especially after what happened at Lords when you dominate England's bowling with your foursome. And it's not about, and to me, it's not about, and fans are doing this on Twitter, nitpicking, saying, no, I'll drop Lungi, I'll do this, do this, do this. No. As a package of four, they are the most lethal and dominant foursome in the world. No other team can give you that. The West Indies dominated the world with four paces. Why can't we do that? Right? And so my thing was, I get Simon Harmer. I get it. I get who he is. But that test match showed me that, quite frankly, he can continue to carry drinks. And it was largely because, and you put up that stat about the 17 and everything else, and I loved it. But my one thing was, when you've just beaten a team with your four paces, when England did not know what was going up or down with Marco Jansen, they couldn't obviously handle Lungi and Heinrich and everybody else, but they kind of knew them and they were used to them. You then go and drop your X factor for a game, in a game when so for instance, my thing was, if let's say England weren't bold, we didn't beat them by an innings, but then we went to like day 5 or day 4 and we won the match there, and you could have necessarily won it with another spinner, I'd have said Simon. But because you're so dominant up front and as a force as a bowling attack with Marco Jansen, there was no need for you to drop him at all, regardless of what the pitch conditions are doing, because you're not in the subcontinent. The only time I will drop Marco or any one of the quicks is in the subcontinent. That kind of bothered me a lot because I kind of saw in England that they didn't have a response. They couldn't figure Marco Jansen out, and he was the X factor because he was a lefty. I don't know what was going on, and so I just sat there going, we're just overthinking this. Just play the game, play the team in front of you, and the team in front of you who could have struggled, and they necessarily did with their batting, with a 4-pronged pace attack. It's just now you bring in Simon Harmer. Now you have to force him to bowl. Now you have to give him overs, and then it just makes everything complicated. And it kind of felt like Dean at the time was trying to justify his selection of Simon by giving him the ball when in that test match didn't necessarily need to even give him the ball. I think he took some wickets, but like I said, they're going, guys, we're not here. This isn't it. And so I think South Africans cricket, the selectors and the brains trust just overthought it. You're on a hot wicket. You've got a hot team. And this is the thing. We were asking them to tweak the batting. The whole thing South Africans always say is we don't like to change things when we're winning. Why do we change the bowling? Why? Like, I get Simon Harmer's, but you just lost that. They just lost that advantage, and you also gave that middle order something to look forward to and something easier to manage. Even though, yes, I get Kesh bowled really well, but like, guys, no. That for me hurt me. That for me was when I saw Simon Harmer coming in, I was upset and I thought actually we could lose this game, and not because of him, but because of the fact that we're now overthinking everything when he's bundled them out easily with just 4 paces. So that was me. But
Well, I love this. I love this. I love that you said that because we've been agreeing far too much in this podcast. That's not why I wanted this podcast to happen. I wanted us to disagree from time to time. I love that you said all that. That is fantastic news. Right. Okay. So, um, we will never know what the two spinners would have done on day 4 and day 5 because we never saw a day 4 and a day 5. The spin and bounce was there, even in the very short 3-day test match that we saw. There definitely was something there for the spinners. I 100% understood the way that Dean went with the two spinners. As I said, we will never know. You can't pick SF Barnes and say, right, well, you only got 150 to defend. Right, go and win us a test match. You can't. That's asking far too much, even for somebody like Simon and Keshoff, who have both got good records in England. So if you're already starting on a really bad, bad turn for them, putting extra pressure on them when they're asked to bowl on a day 2 pitch, when the plan was to never ever bowl on the day pitch. It was to bowl days 3, 4, and 5. The other thing that I will say, and there was a lot of criticism on when Harmer and Keshoff were bowling in tandem when England were 5 down for about 150. Again, I understand that, and I get the argument. My simple problem was Dean Arundel's field placings. Dean Arundel's field placings to Stokes and Folkes, when they had about 20 each, I would say 20 and 25 each, was to have a very deep mid-on and a very deep mid-off, and a very deep sort of point. It allowed both batsmen, right and left-hander, to get singles whenever they wanted and as many as they wanted off Harmer and Keshoff, but particularly Harmer. So he never had time to work batsmen over because he kept having to change his lines to bowl to right and left-hand combinations. It worked perfectly into England's favour, got both batsmen in, and then they took toll when the ball became soft. So I fully support the reasons as to why he went with the two spinners. Yes, in hindsight, it backfired, and it backfired badly.
But I could have told him that. So look, if Dean phoned me up, and I don't think Dean should call me, but if he phoned me up and say, "Hey, Mpho, what are you thinking about me changing the 11?" Even if he called you, let's say he called you, and he said, "Tim, I'm thinking of changing the 11 for tomorrow. I know you like Simon Harmer. What do you think? We just bowled England out with our 4 paces. What do you think?" Surely you would have been like, "Dean, don't do it. At least wait for the oval."
Well, I will go to what Vernon Philander said. This is Vernon Philander, who was at the ground, who'd seen the pitch on the morning. Vernon Philander, and I think he was slightly wrong. In this, but he said at the morning of the test match, "Boys, it's dry. South Africa have to play 2 spinners. It's a 2 spinners pitch. This is a traditional pitch that Shane Warne liked, where you're going to get turn, but more specifically, you're going to get that extra bounce." Now, that didn't materialize, but I was going on the analysis of somebody who was there, who had seen the test match.
I get you. I get you. So yeah, now you've given me new information. So now I'm sitting there going, okay, fine. So then the real problem we had were the batters. Is that what you're saying?
100%.
So the batters didn't bat long enough to bring Simon into the game.
100 and Keshoff, both of them.
Look, Keshav's bottom in the team is cemented. He's not leaving. But Simon should go there and be like, "Oaks, you guys owe me a whole lot of drinks because I never got to spin these guys into a web."
Yeah, I 100%.
So here's my other question for you. 18 months ago, we were in Pakistan. We played incredible spin. You had Yasir Shah on the one end. You had whomever the Pakistani flavor of the month spinner is on the other end, and Markram and Rassi were just dominant. What's going wrong? What happened?
Okay. I think for let's just focus on the Rassi situation. The Rassi situation, I think that his powers are starting to weaken. I think he's now, what is he now, 32, 33. If I'm going to be his personal coach now, I'm going to say to him, listen, we want you for the next 4 years. We want to eke out as many of those 4 years as possible. The best way to do that is for you to focus on the facets of the game that you are best at, and that is white ball cricket. He is better at white ball cricket
But some of these
than
people don't even want him in the T20 side.
I. I don't care about those people. I don't care about those people.
Okay, Tim. Okay. I'm like doing a
No,
devil's advocate, but I hear you.
he is in a really good shape and a really good space of mind within that frame of cricket. So I would say to him, you could probably eke out another 12 months in Test cricket, but your powers are going to continue to wane. The hours of concentration, it requires a lot of hard work. A lot of hard work in this format. And look, he's had a very, I won't say successful, but a very important role for South Africa in this test format for the last few years that he's been involved. But I do think it is the right time now to say, thanks, Rassi, but we're going to move in a slightly younger, in a different direction. The Markham situation is mental. It is 99% mental for me. It's not talent. We know it's talent. It is mental. And that is his problem. He is averaging 15 for the last 12 months. You can't carry somebody like that any longer. Six
Here's
test
my
matches,
point.
average of 15. You can't carry Markham in this format any longer. I'm sorry. Um,
So yeah, so
yeah.
Tim, here's my point. I look at Adam Markham, I look at Zach Crawley, and I listened to what Brendan McCallum said about Zach Crawley, and I'm like, maybe that's that. Maybe it's that. It's the match winning performance. It's we're waiting for him to hit it out the park one time every 10. And I think you could say that he does it once every 7 times. So he's a little bit better than Zach somehow. But and as I've said it before, it's not enough because, and I've said this many times, match winning performances are not hundreds. Everybody and their grandmother on Twitter is saying that it must be big hundreds. No, it's not. It's team contributions. It's partnerships that save you the game. It's partnerships that keep you in the game. In a team of 11, you don't expect all 11 to be superstars because you know it's it's a game based on failure. So then the situation here is, if you look at everyone else in that team, and you said there were two passengers, even Rassi against India, and that's the reason why he's there. He had some good innings there, a good partnership with Elgar on that fourth day at the Wanderers after the rain, and they just dominated India and they closed out the game in darkening light. Against India in that second innings, it was Rassi who hung on, who did that. KP didn't score 100 against India, but KP, that 70, the 60, the 70, and the 80 were important. Temba didn't score 100, but Temba averages 50 throughout the thing, and he's had multiple innings throughout the past 18 months, ever since he's come back since 2020 started, when he came back into the side, where the side has kept the side in the game, or he's helped the team go forward. Remember that there was a game it was the game that he was against Pakistan at Centurion, and he went out nicking the ball and he didn't. And everyone was so angry at Timber, and it was on 72. And obviously that was the game that Faf scored like 100 and God knows what. It was 199. There's been many innings like that. And if you look at this tour, KP, Sado, and Dean are the three best batters in the South African lineup. They're not the most talented. They'll never be as talented as Aiden Markram. Never. Aiden's ceiling is way higher than those guys. But they know how to contribute to the side. KP scored a 40. Even in this game, I think KP scored a 40. He was trying to keep
Just
the
look
team
at
in the game.
yeah,
He
look at
was,
the way he played. Look at the way he changed things. First
yes,
innings, he goes out and he chases the ball, and he's chased all the way through that first innings. You thought it's only a matter of time before he was going to get out. Second innings, he changed it. He reined himself in. No expansive cover drives. Nothing in that fifth stump channel. He played within his area. Anything that came to him, he played. Anything outside his area, he left alone. He looked very assured before he got out.
yes. But Tim, my thing is, if it's mental, what is he telling himself when he's looking at Sarl, Rassi, and Dean, who he knows he's better than, way better than. He shouldn't, quite frankly, Sarl shouldn't be in that side. But he's only in that side because Aiden dropped the back, right? And Sarl right now at Lords is giving you a 70 that is just as good as a 50 as the fifer that Kagiso took. That 70 set up our game, set it up. Because without that, we're not scoring 300. We're not scoring past 300. Nor that 150 partnership, those 150 runs that Sarl was there for, with Keegan giving him 50 and Dean giving him the other 100. I just don't get how people are just saying, no, it must be 100. Yes, we want hundreds. Hundreds are match, change the game. They do amazing things. But can we at least get Aiden to give us 50s? That's dried up. If you look at all the scores above 50 in this 11, and everyone's looking at Timber and everything else, Timber's got, I think, more scores above 50 than Aiden. Yes, like Timber's played more games, but from a 50 conversion rate, Timber's actually pretty decent. And so I sit there going, okay, fine. So then what do we do with this guy? I look at Tennis de Bruin and say, yeah, maybe he is finished. Tennis de Bruin is averaging 50 since he was dropped from the Proteas. There's no way he's coming back into the side at all. But if you looked at domestic stats, you'd go and see, oh, snap, Tennis de Bruin's at the top of the average charts. But he's not coming back. Peter Milan not coming back, and Peter only played one game. And after that one game, people were like, no. Maybe it's a time to stop looking at pretty and flashy players and actually start looking at guys who have the mental capacity to outlast. I don't know what that metric is, but in my books, that metric is somebody who, yes, consistent runs help. So we've got Carl Verena in. But even Carl, we're looking there going, aren't there any other options?
Exactly.
Like, I think he's lucky he's got the gloves, but I'm like, dude, and so how long are we going to be persisting for 5 years with Carl like we did with Aiden, and to a certain extent, rightfully so, with Timber before 2020? Are we going to wait? So let's say Timber was in the team from 2014. It took him 6 years. Aiden's been in the team for about 4 years now. Let's say give or take 5 years. Yeah. So we've got one more year before we drop Aiden. And then he's going to find form in 2025. So the 2025 World Test Championship is Aiden Markram's World Test Championship. That's when he's going to come in. And then for Kyle, 2027, 28 after the World Cup. So I'm not too sure, but I do think now's the time. Just give the guys a chance. People are talking, no, we need experience. Screw experience. Experience got you to this point. If that team was experienced, they'd know how to close out a game when they 1-0 up. They would know.
Yeah.
Because they did it against India.
Exactly.
They did it at Newlands against India when India came fighting. India was so good at Newlands, and then all of a sudden they just capitulated in day 3 when everything just went wrong because South Africa just stood firm. They just were immovable. But if he's not the guy for Test cricket, he's not the guy for Test cricket. I don't even think he's the guy for ODI cricket, but everybody wants him there. And I don't like the fact that I'm talking about it because everyone thinks I'm a hater, but I want the guy to succeed. I want the guy to show. If he shuts me up, it makes you come and watch so I can eat humble pie. You know? But I'm sitting here going, dude, No. But here's the fun part. Rusty's injured. The last time someone was unavailable and Aiden was in a place where he's not supposed to be, what did he do? He went on and became a millionaire off of that misfortune. And that's the
Well,
T20 grind.
when he was out of a no ball, I nearly messaged you. I nearly messaged you.
Everybody, like, guys, I was getting messages. I was like, "Boy, are you watching?" But look, I think for me, I and I said it already before. Give Aiden the full series at 4. I hope he comes good. I hope he does. I really do, for everybody's sake. Because if not, I don't know what people are going to be looking at, because all their calibrations of how cricket players should be and should look are going to go out the window. Guess stop picking players because they're handsome and tall. Maybe that's the start. Maybe look for short people. I don't know. But anyway, what do you do with Markram? Tim, what do you do with him?
Yeah, look, I think they're going to keep him. As you said, I think they're going to, because of the Rusty injury in particular. I don't see them making two changes in the batting. They'll make the one change. It's just a flip of a coin as to who they'll pick. For me, if he makes 100 at Old Trafford, not at the Oval, I'm not convinced at all. He makes 100. I'm not convinced. I want somebody in there in that number 4 position who was going to average 40 for the next 4 years.
But he could.
But
The guys.
he could do that. On talent, he could do that. He 100% could do that. I have no faith that he will do that. That is my issue. My issue is he's so mentally gone at the moment. So his
Why
mind
would
is
he be
so.
mentally gone? What's wrong?
He's averaging 15. 15. 1-5. Not 51. 1-5 this year. You don't go to a guy, right, well, you're averaging 15 this year. It's now September. We're going to keep you. You just don't do that. In an ideal world,
Well,
you
if
just
you're
don't
England,
do
you
that.
do, because Zach Crawley's there as well.
But that's because he's Rob Key's brainchild. So that's another subject altogether. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that one either. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that either. I don't think that his 38 solves England's problems in any way, shape, or form. It helped them in that test match. In that test match, it was important. I do not believe it's going to be their shining light for the next 12 months. I don't believe that for a fact. In the same way, I don't believe if Marco makes 100 next week, it's going to solve all our problems. I don't believe that in any way, shape, or form. Which is why I'm calling something. Which is why I'm calling for something drastic. I'm dropping both of them and giving 2 guys who are fresh to Test cricket a chance. But in terms of the batting, I genuinely think we need a genuine shake-up in that batting lineup.
So you do
I
know
don't think
that.
I know that they won't go that way. I know that I'm almost certain Mokhbacha won't go that way, but that's what I would do.
Yeah, and what complicates things a lot more is that Vian Mild has now been added to the squad, and Vian's had a terrific county season in Division 2. He's batted in the top 6. He's dominated teams. Scored 150 on a flat wicket. Scored I think it was a double century as well. He's been racking up runs. But, and this is my argument, at test level, Marco Jansen's a better batsman than him. You can come and fight me. I'll give you my address if you want to fight me. Put a comment in there if you want to come fight me. I'd still pick Marco Jansen. I would still. Which is what baffled me. Because I'm sitting there going, it's one test match. You've got Kaya, you've got Ryan. Marco's not injured. And he's on the bench. What are we trying to do here? Is Vian going to bat in the top 6? Vian hasn't scored a 50 in test match cricket and he's played like 10 games. Where are we going? I get we need a reward form. Yes. So Vian, I thought Vian was going to Australia. That's where I thought he was going. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, county, yeah, fine. Australia, you're gonna score runs for the Lions. You're going to play in Australia, right? Not even play, but be in the squad. But you get what I mean. Not now. But Tim, what do you make of that inclusion?
It worries me. I won't lie, it worries me. If they are genuinely thinking of playing him in the 11, it worries me. It really does concern me. To put things into context, his white form cricket is not going to help him against Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad and Ollie Robinson. As good as it's been fantastic, and it's been lovely to see him hit the ball so sweetly. The batting is what we needed him to do, and he's answered that call in the white ball. That is fantastic news.
Not even in the red ball.
And
He
I
just
think
got like 150 at Lords for against
yeah,
Middlesex in Division
he,
Two.
he scored a big score. But to put things into a little bit of context, his red ball format. So red ball, we're playing red ball cricket, it's test match cricket. You take away that 235 not out. In that match, there were over 500 runs, 1,500 runs scored for 15 wickets. That's an average of over 500 for 5 wickets. So it's a flat wicket. So I'm putting that to one side. As good as it was, I'm putting that just to one side. His red ball average is 32 for Leicestershire this season. Not terrible, but not great.
It's
Not
okay.
great. It's Division 2
How
cricket.
many 50s and 100s outside of that 200?
I don't have the stats on me at the moment.
Okay, that's fine.
But
That's all good.
but it's
We know
it's
everyone knows how to use cricket info.
exactly. Go to cricket if I never look. It's Division 2 cricket. So as much as I'm a supporter of county cricket, Division 1 is very strong. Division 2 is not strong. Our Division 1 would beat their Division 2. Hands down. There's no... barring the odd game here and there, there's no comparison. So, I'm happy for him. He's fantastic. But you do not solve a solution like ours by weakening our bowling unit. You do not solve it by weakening
It does.
the
It
bowling.
literally weakens the bowling unit.
You
Like,
really
everyone's
just
like,
do
no,
not
he's a
solve
fifth bowler. I'm
and
like,
sorry, you
Mark
just don't.
Hanson's a better fifth bowler if you wanted to pick him. If,
Exactly.
let's say, we're
Yeah.
keeping Keshav and we're going with the 3 quicks and Marco's just the spare bowler who can bat, more runs than him in Test cricket, or higher average than him in Test cricket. And then Vian doesn't even have 40s, guys. Like, Vian does not have a 40. Like, I remember that Test match, the third Test match in West Indies, and he looked so good. He looked like, oh yes, we was batting with Quinny, and then it just fizzled out. Like, scored a 30 and then just went to nothing. But yeah, so that's my Vian Mulder thing, and I think the Proteas have to do something. One thing, Tim, what did the Proteas do right?
Yeah.
We've been talking about negatives. We've been talking about Aiden. What did they do right?
Well, they kept going. Despite the 150, I genuinely did not notice heads dropping. I did not see a team that just said, you know what, fine, we'll see you at the Oval in a week's time. They kept fighting, they kept going, they kept trying, they kept going at it, and they had them 147 for 5. 147 for 5 after our 150. We were in the game. We were in the game. We were 1 wicket away from opening their tail. So we were there. We were competitive, despite that 150. I thought the bowling for the pace guys was good. It kept going. I thought Anna was superb. He kept bowling faster and faster. It didn't really matter. It was unfortunate that the ball became soft and they maybe didn't have enough of a plan B when the ball became soft. But I liked the spirit of the South African team. You saw it was Dean Ellinger's side. This was not Faf du Plessis or Graham. This was a Dean Ellinger side that said, you know what, backs against the wall, but we'll keep fighting. To look at that on that last day, the partnership between Keegan and Rossi, they really played exceptionally well. They both only made 40 odd, but they played exceptionally well
And
against some
Rusty with a
very good.
broken finger.
Rossi with a broken finger was Man Mountain. Man Mountain. He was incredibly, it was incredibly brave and
So
heartwarming to see that.
okay, let's close it out because I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, watching this podcast, the Aiden Markham fan club is probably going like, okay, Tim, you said he has a mental issue or it's all mental. How do we fix it? Do we have to send him back to the Titans? Do we need him to play T20 cricket and then he'll come back to the test side? How long is he going to be out? Because I think there are certain parts of the fan club who are willing to drop him, but they're dropping on the assumption that he's going to come back. What do you
Okay,
say to that?
I will get to you. I will get to you. You just asked me about Mulder's Red Ball season. So 8 matches, average of 49 with that 235. You see, with that 235,
Okay.
that does, it really balloons it. 200s, 250s. So it's 15
100,
inningses.
250s.
Yeah, 15 inningses. A third of them he's made 100 or a 50. Decent numbers, good, decent conversion
Wait,
rate.
15 innings,
Yeah,
200s, 250s.
yeah,
Outside of the
yeah,
200. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. That's I think what Brendan McCullum was hoping Zach Crawley would do.
yeah,
Average low
yeah. So,
30s, but give us something that changes a match.
indeed. So you asked about what you asked about?
How do you fix
Oh,
Aiden Markham?
Markham. Okay, well,
Not saying that he's fixing, but how do you help his mental block?
all of these people that go back, they have to go back to the cricket. They all find somebody. They all find somebody. For the purpose of this argument, I'm going to use Simon Harmer as an example. Simon Harmer was a decent spinner when he left, when he went to Kolpak. Decent, decent first-class cricketer. Probably good enough to play just about Test cricket, but nothing special about him. He was just a decent cricketer. He went and he found a spinning coach who taught him how to become more of an attacking spinner. And every single winter since then, for the last 5 seasons, he's gone to India, because the guy's in India, and he's just double-checked everything, made sure everything's in line every single winter. And he's reaping the rewards of that. It might only be county cricket, but he is benefiting from being with somebody he trusts who's helped him. Rossi needs to find that person. Rossi needs to find that.
I'm talking about Aiden, but Rossi works too.
No, Aiden. Aiden needs to find that person. Aiden needs to find that person who he trusts, who can just. He does need a change. He does need some kind of a change from a mental point of view. I firmly believe that. He needs to have a conversation with somebody like Paddy Upton. Just a couple of sessions, half a dozen sessions. I'm sure Paddy will be able to give him some pointers about how to change his way that he bats, the way that he comes out when he's batting. Because whenever he comes out now, I don't think it's me that's generating it. I genuinely think he's thinking, how do I get to 20? If I get to 20, I will be okay. Because he will be okay. But how do I get to that 20 or 30? I think at the moment he's not sure about how to do that. Does he go out and smash it all over the park? Does he do what Keegan did in the second innings and rein it in? He does a bit of both at the moment, which we saw in the second innings, chasing a wide one. There was no need to play that shot. The situation didn't call for it. The ball didn't call for it. Feet didn't move. No foot movement at all. And he does move his feet. He can move his feet. He likes to move his feet to the spinners and get into good positions. At the moment, he's not getting in good positions. He's not playing the right shots to the right balls. So for me, he needs to find somebody that
But
can work with him.
what brings him back into the side? Because you say drop him, so we drop him. We play against Australia. When do you bring him back? What must you do for him to come back into the side? Because this is a guy like Tennis to Brain who dominates domestic cricket. Same thing with Kyle Verreynne. If you drop Kyle Verreynne after this test series, he's going to go back to domestic cricket. The Cobras are going to be at the Western Province, are going to be top of the log because Kyle's scoring bucket loads of runs against guys who are county cricket, Division Two county bowlers at best at times. What happens? Like what's the yardstick for guys like this? Because I remember Timber was go back and score a big 100. He went and scored a double. What must Aiden do to come back into the side?
He needs to do what I've just said he shouldn't do in the test format. He needs to bulldoze these attacks in the domestic cricket. He doesn't need to just make 100. He's got to absolutely dominate.
But he's done that already.
Bowling.
He did that 2 seasons ago when he scored 1,000 runs.
But that is the only genuine way that he can do it. It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one because, as you said, he's done it before. He's gone back and he scored those runs. But there isn't any other avenue for him to do. If he goes and makes IPL runs, that doesn't help him in his test cricket. If he goes and makes PSL runs, that doesn't help. If he goes and makes Big Bash runs, that doesn't help. He's thrived on doing well in the T20 cricket, and he has been able to transfer that for the national side. He has been able to. He needs to be able to find a way to transfer that across.
So I think my idea is
yeah,
because it's weird. It's tough. My idea is this: send him back to Titans. He must maintain the same level. But you say to him that from a Test cricket format for the 2023 World Test Championship, he's not going to be at Lords. He's not going to follow unless if there's drastic injuries. Not because I'm going to go with the line. So Rickleton's in the line, Zondo's in the line, and I'd even put Yanaman Malan ahead of him. And if Zubair Hamza comes back, maybe, and then if all those three fail, somehow, give each a series or whatever it is. I don't know how you want to do it. That's going to give like 6 months each. Maybe gives each of them 6 months. There's not a lot of Test cricket to go around. But maybe at the end of 2024, 2023, so at the end of 2023, you can actively consider him again into the side.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But say to him, we're dropping you. We know you're good enough. You're our breaking case of middle order hell.
Yeah.
Or top order hell. So if Sarl like bombs out and we don't have any other openers, by the way, Josh Richards needs to play too. Needs an opportunity at the top. But if in the absence of anybody else that is playing, that can potentially, because we know what he gives us. And this is what I was saying, Rassie and Aiden, there's nothing new we're learning from this series. Even if he scores 100 at the Oval, there's nothing new. Because I know he scores 100 at the Oval, that Australia series is going to be horrible. He's not going to give us anything in Australia if he scores 100 at the Oval. If he doesn't score 100 at the Oval, I know that there's going to be some sort of 50 happening in Australia or 100 happening in Australia. That's how he works, right?
That's how it works.
That's how I know he is. With Rassie as well. Like I know with Rassie, I need a fighting 40 or fighting 50. He's my guy. Averages mid-30s. His big problem is the way he accumulates his runs. It's not the fact that he's in a lean patch. Well, it is lean right now, but it's the manner in which he scores his runs rather than actually the production itself. The output looks great. The process looks horrible, even in T20 cricket, but we're willing to kind of live with that. So my thing is I've learned from there, right?
Just a quick,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go on.
So for now, let's see Ryan. Let's see Kaya. Let's give them those opportunities. Let's see Yanaman. If Ryan fails and Kaya, because obviously Timber's coming back, so there's only one spot. But if Ryan fails in Australia and you're not sure, give Kaya a chance. If Kaya doesn't work out, and you're not sure about him, take into account because they won't be playing any domestic cricket because they'll be trying with the Proteas. if that fails and Yanaman's still in the top run scorer, is not, and there's no other number four there that we can throw in, then you can go and try Aiden. But it has to be a system like that rather than necessarily telling him to go back to domestic, because I bet you your bottom dollar, Aiden is the most talented batter in South Africa. I'm not fighting that at all. I
No,
just think everyone just I just think everyone is just living off of that ceiling, and that ceiling hasn't produced, and it's not producing consistently. And so, why are we still persisting with a guy like this on the off chance that he can good, that he can do? Jacques Callis was consistent, he was super talented but consistent. AB de Villiers, super talented, consistent. Hashim Amla, the man behind me, the ball brigade, super talented, very consistent. Aiden Markham, super talented, not at all consistent. And that is the reason why I say send him back. Like, send him back and tell him a year, 18 months, you can play IPL, you can do whatever you want. Should we have a problem in the middle order after trying this crop of guys, this crop of youngsters, maybe even try a Diego Brevis in the middle of the park because he can change the game? I don't know. But it's not Aiden. It shouldn't be Aiden for the next year or so. Unless if we fundamentally see something different in his mentality that he approaches red ball cricket. And it because the problem is that, and it's the same thing with Deerwold. He bullies those in his age group and those in his country, but those outside of his country he can't bully. And that's the question. But there are guys who aren't as talented, but have navigated and figured out ways to be consistent and score runs at an international level. That's all I'm saying. And the other thing is, the jury's not out on Keegan Peterson. So there is an opportunity at 3 as well. So that
yeah.
middle order is a whole lot. So it might even just be 6 months. When we like get to Australia and we're like, KP's not scoring runs, so-and-so's no, Ryan's not doing well, Carl's going through the ringer. And so for me, that's where I see this, and that's how I look at it. And I think just take him outside. He mustn't travel in the whites, must play in colored clothing. And for the foreseeable future, maybe there's a comeback at age 30. I don't know. Maybe reassess then. But for the next 2 years, let the guy not play Test cricket. It's not looking good. And the sad part about it is that he's not even getting inspired by playing at places like Lords. That bothered me a lot. To be like, there are many cricketers in South Africa who'd give their left leg to be where you are. Look at the way Sarl played at Lords. Sarl knew what the occasion was. Like, imagine Sarl walking down the Lords changing room, the long room, as a batter, when he never thought he would get an opportunity like that in his life. Nowhere near as talented as this kid. Mm. But my word, Sarl gave us a show. Dean Alger's been doing this his entire life. But that's where I think, and I'm not saying he's not a hard worker. I'm not saying that. It's just that there's a consistency thing that's not happening there. And maybe he isn't as talented, his ceiling isn't as high. And it's okay for guys to be super talented as kids, but not actually cut it at these levels. We've seen it in sport for many years. There's many a tale about this. And teams have persisted with these guys for as long as possible. They get the longest of ropes. But at the end of the day, there's a point where you have to pull the plug. And I think that point is now in Test cricket and maybe even ODI cricket. I think ODI cricket, he's a bench player. He's not a starter. And I know that until you're going to take T20 and everything else, he doesn't help what the Proteas are trying to do. And I know the Proteas are trying to bat quicker, but the inconsistency just hurts. Rassie averages 70 for God's sakes. 7-0. On not even talent that Aiden has. It baffles me. And that's why I'm like, guys, just let Pretty Privilege, get those. I get that. Pretty Privilege can be a T20 mercenary. That's fine. As long as he comes to Australia at the end of the year, he makes us win the World Cup, I'm happy. He's our superstar there. T20 cricket, he's the superstar. Every other cricket, okay. I even give Taylor Brevis an opportunity in ODI cricket, guys. I'll give him that. I'm like, dude, not this dude. Nah.
I'm not giving Brevis a chance just yet. I want Brevis to play proper men's
Oh, for
cricket. None of
Aiden.
this.
Because you know they'll
None
do
of the,
they'll keep Aiden and not play Brevis. I'd rather than just swap the one wonder kid for the other and see if it works.
no, 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 no. Previously is the. I don't. Going off topic, but I don't get all this hyperbolic about Previous. Talented boy, very talented cricketer, no doubt. Let's see him do it in 4-day cricket. Then we can discuss. Then we can discuss.
Okay, Tim, I think we've said a lot. There's a test match happening not this week, next week, because the Proteas was supposed to finish today. It's Monday, but we're gonna post this on Tuesday. So when you watch this, is Tuesday, and the Proteas didn't give us a day 5, even though we're wondering whether we're gonna have a day 5 and when we're gonna do the review podcast. But anyway, horrible game. On to the next one. We're still number 2 in the World Test Championship log. Goal, and this is the other thing I'm not sure about, Tim. What's the goal? Is it to get to Lords next year? Or is it to build a contending team for the next one? Because I feel if you get to World Test Championship final next year, it's a little premature. Even though I think the goal is 2025. What do you say?
I think because we're where we are at the table, it's get to the final, boy. Get to the final. If we win it with this team, it would be quite something, and it would be entirely because of the bowlers. Entirely. 95,
give
90,
Donald Dean,
95,
KP and Timbers some credit at least.
95% the bowlers, 5% of the batters.
But
No, I don't think. No, to put it aside, I don't think Boucher's looking too far ahead. Boucher wants to win this thing. Boucher wants to. That's why you're not seeing a whole host of changes. That's why you won't see a whole host of changes for the test match. You'll see 2 changes for the test match. 2 changes. You won't see any more than 2. And one of them is enforced.
Okay, and then
Hey?
the other one's your friend.
Yeah.
Oh,
It,
man.
it doesn't matter if it's a complete dust bowl. He won't be playing. He won't be playing next week. Mark my words. He will not be playing.
Okay, we're gonna be doing our 11s next week, Monday. We're gonna be talking about the test. We're gonna go to the Oval. We're gonna try get some spies in there, see what that wicket looks like, and then we're gonna come back next week, Monday. We're gonna tell you what we think, and we're gonna give you our 11s, and hopefully the Proteas in the next week will be able to do something. But that's our show for today. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us, and have a great week, and enjoy the week of no cricket, and have a good time. Goodbye. Good night. And remember to follow us on Patreon as well. We've got a Patreon page, onewsr.com. Also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, as well as on Anchor and Spotify. The audio versions of this podcast are on there. Outside of that, goodbye, good night, and lesale kakagiso.